There's a few myths in golf that just can't die fast enough. If we follow these myths on how to hit your irons solidly, we're gonna lose some distance, we're gonna lose compression of the golf ball, and really just gonna have a tough time playing well. I wanna talk about 5 of the most common ones out there, what isn't so great about those, and then the right thing to do so you can start hitting the ball better today. Let's go ahead and get started. Be sure to click that subscribe button. I got a lot of good content coming out for you guys this year, a lot of really cool videos. You're not going to be notified unless you click that subscribe button down below though. So if you don't want to miss out, click that now, hit the thumbs up. That really helps us to grow the channel, and post your comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. All right, so the first myth is we want to shorten the golf swing. When we swing with an iron, the driver swing is going to be longer, more free-flowing. Our iron swing, we want to keep it nice, short, and compact. Now, that's somewhat true. Mostly it's just misleading. What's really shortening here is how far back the club head is going. So it's okay, perfectly okay to stop short of parallel with an iron swing, whereas a driver is gonna go to parallel, or maybe a little past parallel would be completely fine. So the iron swing will technically be shorter if we're just looking at the distance that the club head travels. What we don't wanna do is shorten up our body rotation, or we're not gonna be able to get very much club head speed. So in this first swing, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna not turn my hips very much, not turn my shoulders very much. Not only am I gonna keep the club short, but I'm also gonna keep my arms in a fairly short backswing. So here, I'm gonna make an abbreviated full body swing. So I'm keeping everything compact from my hips, shoulders, hands, all the way up to the club. And let's see what kind of distance we can get on my FlightScope X3 radar that's gonna be tracking this. So that's gonna track exactly how far the ball goes. Let's try this out. Now I hit that dead solid, a little bit of fade. We got some left to right wind, is gonna push it a little bit more to the right, but I hit that ball pretty daggone solid. My FlightScope, this is about a $20,000 machine here, so it's pretty high tech. It shoots out these waves, electromagnetic waves that bounce off the club head, that bounce off the golf ball, and track exactly how everything is moving. So it got my club head speed as 83.9 miles an hour. Now I did a lot of things good there. With that short compact swing, I still had lag. I still released the club out in front. I had a perfect divot. I hit the ball solid. So I should be getting some pretty good distance. And when I look down, I see that my carry distance was 173 and my club head speed just under 84 miles an hour. Now that may not sound too bad, and I actually, you know, I created a lot of force and a lot of speed through contact, but I actually left a lot of distance on the table there. So if you're swinging, maybe you would like to hit your 5-iron 170, but you're only hitting it 160 or 150, well, the same thing is gonna apply there. If you're making this short compact swing and you go to a longer, free-flowing, more body-loaded upswing, you may go from 150 to 170, or from 170 to 190, or from 200 to 220. It doesn't really matter how fast we're swinging. These same principles are gonna apply across the board to get more club head speed. Now in this swing, what I'm really gonna focus on is letting my hips rotate, letting my shoulders rotate. I really wanna feel like my shirt buttons in my chest get turned well away from the ball. I wanna feel like if I had my right hand kind of off the club, I would let that turn way behind my body there to really get loaded up. That's gonna get my hand path a lot longer. Now you'll notice when I swing this, the club isn't gonna go past parallel, but my body is gonna make its full backswing. I'm really loading up the body when I'm doing this. So even though the club is shorter, it's not a short compact swing with my body. My hands and my body are still getting pretty high as I make this swing. Let's go ahead and try that one out. There we go. So again, almost on the exact same line. I actually didn't hit that one quite as solid. It wasn't my best shot ever. Kind of making that short swing got me a little tight there. But if we look at club head speed, it went from just under 84, 83.9 to 96.9. So picked up quite a bit of club head speed there. And my carry distance went to 200 yards, which would be about my normal carry distance. So from there, I picked up quite a bit of yardage. On my first swing, I only hit the ball 173, and on my second swing I hit the ball 207. So picked up almost 30 yards of distance by making that full backswing with my body, even if the club is a little bit shorter. Now the next big myth is that we're going to keep our weight left throughout the entire swing. Now this one actually makes a little bit of sense if we think about, okay, I want to have my weight left in the downswing. I want to be hitting down and through this golf ball, and I want to have that divot in front. Wouldn't it be easier just to plant my weight left, keep it there, and then stay planted on that left leg the entire time? Now, I will agree, you could hit some solid shots doing this without getting much of a weight shift to the right. Your pressure in your right foot, no matter what, even if your weight stays over here, my pressure that I'm putting in my right foot is still gonna happen. I'm still gonna feel a little pressure in my right foot, even if I stay to the left as I rotate to the top. But if I stay left or I keep my whole body left, what's gonna end up happening is I lose some club head speed, and I also have a tendency to fall back. A lot of players, when they keep their weight left, they'll kind of sense, okay, I'm too far in front of the golf ball, and from there they'll push with their left leg and end up falling back to the right in the downswing. So we actually want to have our weight travel to the instep of our right foot on the backswing. I want to feel like I'm pushing into the ground with my right foot on the way back. As I transition to the left, now I'm going to feel like I'm shifting my weight to the instep of my left foot and then pushing kind of down and out to rotate my body on through. And you're going to notice if I do that, if I get that shift to the right, shift to the left, that makes it very easy for me to get everything moving forward through the golf ball. Imagine a pitcher in baseball. He's loading up fully onto his right leg, and then he's stepping on his left leg and letting everything go toward home plate. I've never in my life seen a pitcher load on the right leg and then fall back away from the catcher. It just doesn't happen. But if he loaded up on his left leg, maybe he would try to do that. We have to get that weight shift. We have to get that weight right and then back to left to not only get speed, but to also make sure that we're hitting down and through. This first ball, let me try. I'm gonna try to swing as hard as I can, and I'm gonna keep my weight left the entire time and see the best I can do. It's still gonna go pretty good if I hit the ball solid. It's not like I'm gonna lose tons of distance, but I'll definitely be losing a little bit of miles per hour. The last one was 97 miles per hour, 96.9. Let's see what this one does. Now in that one where I kept everything left, I went from around 97 miles an hour club head speed down a little bit to 92.9. My carry distance went down from 200 down to 177, and it also made it tough for me because when I'm stayed way left like this, even though I didn't fall back, I made sure that I kept my weight going left. It felt like the club was swinging down more over top of the golf ball, and I hit it a little bit thin. Now, if I kept on practicing with this, I'm sure I could get a little bit more contact, but I'm never gonna be able to get the full amount of club head speed, my full potential, if I'm just kind of keeping my weight left, keeping posted left the entire time. It's just not the way that you can hit it with your maximum amount of speed. Now let's go ahead and try again. Let's get one with a little bit more of a weight shift. I'm gonna feel like my weight transfers inside of my right foot and then to the inside of my left foot. And let's see what my club head speed and my distance does. You'll probably notice on that last one when I slid in front, I feel like I kind of held the face open because it was very difficult for me to square the face up, and that ball almost leaked out to the right a little bit. Let's see if I can get it a little bit straighter here also when I get the proper weight shift. There we go, much better on that one. Just to be the left center of the green. And if I'm looking on my flight scope here, actually drew right back on the target, 97.7. So again, I picked up about 5 miles an hour, right back up to around 200 yards, 197.5. So we can see how not only did I get a little better accuracy, a little better contact, also got some more speed. One thing I get asked all the time is how do I keep my head still in the golf swing? Now, that's a little bit true. There is some truth to this, and there is something that's a little bit misleading. So if I'm making a good swing, I want to have what's called a stable fluid spine, which means if I put this club representing my spine angle, as I set up to the golf ball, I want to be slightly tilted away. As I go to the top of the swing, you'll notice how my body isn't going to shift a lot. My head stays pretty stable. And then as I come down, my head stays pretty stable, and my spine angle is staying roughly the same. It's moving around a little bit, I know if we get technical, but the general idea here is that I'm rotating around my spine to simplify the swing and make things a lot easier so my head won't move around all over the place. Now, one thing I find when players tend to keep their head still is they try to get that weight shift, but they want to lock their head in to where it doesn't move at all. What tends to happen when I do this is my weight goes to the right, but my head stays here just dead over the ball, and I tend to bump my hips to the right, maybe get a little bit of a reverse pivot as that's happening. Also, when I do this, I tend to restrict my backswing, not get that good hip, shoulder, arm rotation like I talked about in the first part of this video, and I tend to make a shorter swing. So if I do one of those, let's see what that looks like where I really try to lock in my head. I don't move it at all. Let's see what happens. So even though I actually hit that one just about dead solid, couldn't have been much better as far as contact on the face, I could tell that I didn't really load up and I didn't get my full swing speed. I was down 86.9, so I lost about 10 miles an hour of club head speed. And even though I hit it just dead solid, it was 177, so about 23 yards shorter. So whatever you're hitting right now, if you're doing that, you might have a potential another 23 yards that you could hit it farther if you make the proper motion. So here, my head isn't going to move all over the place, but I don't mind if my head rotates a little bit to the right in the backswing. That's completely natural. It should rotate a little bit to help me as I go to the top of the swing to get that good full shoulder turn. If I don't want my chin to move 1 inch or 1 centimeter, it's hard to get that turn. I really feel tight as I'm doing that. If I let that head swivel a little bit, that's completely fine, nothing wrong with this. Also, as you're loading into the ground, it's completely fine if your head drops a little bit. That allows me to use my legs as I'm coming on through this shot. So in this one, notice, you may see a little tiny bit of head drop. I tend to not get a ton, but you'll notice my head tilts a little to the right, and then as I finish, comes all the way through, facing down the fairway, which is completely fine. Let's go ahead and try one out and see how I do with my new head motion. All right, nice. Right center of what would be the green. Sitting out in the fairway today. I could tell that one was way faster. Again, it had a little bit of head motion in there. 96.8, so back up to 97. 205 carry, got a little bit more distance on that one. Now here's one of the biggest misses I think can really slow down your club head speed if I'm releasing at the ball. So if I'm thinking about getting my club to release at the golf ball to get all my speed at the ball, then this can lead to some bad things. Number one, it's going to cause you to add some loft to the shot and release this club too early. So if I'm thinking release at the golf ball, what you'll notice is now my club shaft is splitting my forearms as I'm coming through contact here. And what that's going to do is it's not going to get me any forward shaft lean on this golf club. Pros typically are taking a lot of loft off this club, about 30% of the natural loft of this club off there. So with a 5-iron, you know, you could be anywhere around 27 or so degrees of loft. At contact, they're taking that natural amount of loft and they're turning that down to where it's only got about 18 degrees or so of loft on the face. That means the shaft is leaning forward. That means that club head is closing down. That allows you to compress the ball better. It also allows your hands to be leading the way so you can be much more consistent through contact and you're not really flipping on there. Let's do one the wrong way. I'm gonna have the idea of releasing at the golf ball and let's see what happens to my loft from my flight scope and let's see what happens to my overall distance. There we go. So that ball went way higher in the air. I definitely scooped it up. I did probably get a decent amount of club head speed. I bet it's pretty close to my full amount of club head speed, but you're gonna notice the total distance is probably way down. So on here, again, my club head speed, I was right. I whipped that club through there and I got a decent amount of speed. That's not really the problem here. I got 96.6 miles an hour of club head speed, but my dynamic loft, or the loft that I had on this club, was 26.4 degrees. And what that means is, if this club naturally has about 27 degrees of loft on it, what that means is that club shaft was straight up and down as I was hitting this shot. That made the ball go way too up in the air. Instead of going through the air and getting more distance, it kind of floated up and then came straight down. Not really that good. We want those shots that penetrate through the wind. And again, that dropped my total distance down to 174. That ball had the potential to fly 200 or 205 yards in the air, but because of that flip, it went all the way down to 174. Now, what I'd like to see is something closer to 20 degrees of dynamic loft when I'm hitting this shot, and I'd like to see that ball flying a little bit closer to 200 yards. On this one, I'm gonna really feel like I get my hands low to the ground. That way it makes it easier to get this shaft leaning forward and still be able to reach the golf ball. If I flip the club, look how much higher my hands are up in the air. So I gotta get lower to be able to get that forward shaft lean. That's the sensation that I'm gonna have here. Let's go ahead and hit one and see how this one does. There we go, that one was killed there. I really compressed the heck out of that right toward the middle of what would be the green or where I'm aiming. 97.8, so 1 miles an hour difference in club head speed. So it's not how fast I'm swinging this club. I haven't even looked at the numbers yet. I will bet as much money as I have that shot went farther. And we're seeing here, carry distance 193, really compressed that golf ball, total distance 200 yards. So I picked up about 20 yards or so, 15 yards or so by just compressing the ball a little bit more. Plus it felt a whole heck of a lot more solid. And even though we have a pretty stiff wind kind of coming slightly into the face, more left to right, that ball penetrated through the air much better, much more controllable ball flight because I had my hands forward. So making sure that you don't release at the golf ball, but instead you release in front of the golf ball is where it's at. So in the Top Speed Golf system, we call this a straight line release. If you imagine about an angle 45 degrees in front, that's where I'm going to be releasing the golf club. If I imagine swinging to that point out here, then I'm going to get forward shaft lean coming through contact, and I'm going to be releasing to that point out in front. The ball's just going to get in the way. I'm going to hit a lot better shots. Now the next myth is the left arm straight, and in reality, everybody's going to bend the left arm, or most people, unless you're just absolutely as flexible as possible, you're going to bend your left arm a little bit in the backswing. I believe PGA Tour average, according to Gears, which is a 3D motion capture system, I believe is about 20 degrees of left arm bend, 15 to 20 degrees, somewhere around in there. So what that means is, if my left arm, if we're looking at my elbow, this would be dead flat. I'm bending that about 15 to 20 degrees in the backswing, which is completely fine, nothing wrong with that. Long drive guys and guys that are trying to hit as far as they can, they'd actually bend it a little bit more than that to get the arms moving back a little bit farther. We don't want to go to that extreme, but the idea of keeping this left arm just locked in straight, man, that's going to hurt your distance, and unless you're just super flexible, it's just never going to happen. It's like, you know, trying to beat your head against the wall. You just try and try and try, but you never can get it to look right on camera. So let me talk about why this can be a little bit of a detriment. I'm going to lock my left arm perfectly straight, and I'm going to turn back as far as I can without bending that arm at all. And I can get to about right there, and that's as far as I can go. Now you're going to see some super flexible guys like Justin Thomas, Dustin Johnson, a lot of the guys that are just kind of like Gumby, super flexible. They may be able to get that left arm way up here and keep it straight. My body's just not that flexible. I would be willing to bet that you're not that flexible either. So let's work with our own body and what it can do to get the best results that we can. So if I keep this left arm straight, what's going to happen is that's going to shorten up my swing and cut it off my backswing. Now if I do that, on this one, I'm going to really try to lock in that left arm, and I'm not going to swing any farther back than I can with that left arm really locked in. So there, I feel like I really wound up. I hit that ball like a laser right down the middle, right center of the green. Wind pushed it just a little bit to the right. 90 miles an hour club head speed, so I'm down 6 or 7 miles an hour. 186 total distance, so I hit it pretty solid, but it's going 15 yards shorter. If you're locking that left arm in, your shots are probably going 15 yards shorter too. What I want you to focus in on is feeling like you're a little bit softer with that left arm. And the key to get that full backswing when you're doing this and keep that left arm a little bit straighter and not do this is make sure that you rotate the chest again. So if I don't rotate my chest and I try to keep my left arm straight, I can't go anywhere. As I start to say, okay, I got to go farther back than this, if I don't rotate my chest, what I do is I bend my arms completely and they completely fold up, which is not good. We know that's not good. So if I want to keep some semblance of my left arm fairly straight, you don't want to just pick up your left arm and fold it like this. If I'm trying to keep it fairly straight and still get to a good turn, I have to make sure I turn my hips and my shoulders in the backswing. If my hips and my shoulders turn, I can keep that left arm straight and go farther back. If my hips and my shoulders don't turn, I can't keep my arm straight and go any farther back than this. I end up folding up. So if you're completely folding down with the left arm, you feel like you want to get it straighter and still make a good turn, again, it comes down to the body. I got to get my shirt buttons feeling like they're facing away from the target. If I had a logo on the back, in the middle of my back, I would face that toward the target. If you're not very flexible, lift up that left heel a little bit. And now you'll see my left arm bends a little bit. That's completely fine, but I'm still making a pretty good backswing, and I'm probably going to get a little bit more distance on this shot. All right, so swung a little bit faster. Again, I lost a little bit of club head speed. Miss hit that one a little tiny bit. My carry distance was 189. So even on a miss hit, I picked up 3 yards from what would be a perfectly hit shot. So that's one thing to keep in mind. I'm not saying you're going to hit every single shot perfect if you do these keys. I'm just saying on an average, they're going to be farther, they're going to be straighter, and they're going to be more solid. You still hit bad shots, you're still going to have bad days, but as a whole, things are going to be a lot better. So what do we do from here? We talked a lot about the swing and how we can get better mechanics, how we can bust these misses so that we swing better and we hit with more distance. One thing I didn't cover in this video that I think is very important is making sure that we do the move, or what I would call shallowing the club out and squaring that face up early so that we can really compress the golf ball rather than coming down steep and over the top. That's one of the things that if you're struggling with your irons, I would almost guarantee that you're coming in a little steep and a little bit over the top and losing a little bit of speed because you're getting outside the slot. If we can do the move, we're going to shallow that club out, get it into the slot, square that face up early so that we can be really, really consistent. I'm going to play a preview of that video here in just 1 second. Go ahead and click on the card or the link down below in the description to get instant access to that. Get that club in the slot and start playing your best golf today. Let's go and get started. Good player problems. We're going to talk about shallowing that club shaft out as we're starting down, as we're doing this rotating of the face that we worked on in the last video. As we start this downswing, what you'll see with basically all of the top players is instead of coming kind of over the top and letting the hands come out away from their body, letting the club come out away from their body, again coming down steep into the ball and then having to open up, kind of fillet open the face and add loft to it. The flattening of the shaft should happen as soon as we start down. So as we start this downswing, what we want to have happening here, you can imagine that if I draw a line from the hosel of my club up through my right elbow, that's my swing plane line, my elbow plane. As I go to the top of the swing, I'm going to be slightly above that. And then as I start down, I want my hands to start to shallow out. I want the club to shallow out inside of this elbow plane.